Well, the AFC Asian Cup continues in Qatar. Overnight, the matches that took place saw what was a good win for Australia, defeating Syria 1-0. That puts them through into the next round. Also for the United Arab Emirates, so they took on Palestine. The UAE were down to 10 men due to a red card, but they still managed to hang on for a 1-1 draw.
Well, that was not the case for India going against Uzbekistan, requiring a win or at least a draw to probably hold on to their position, maybe try and get into the next round. India getting a massive blow, 3-0, and all of that in the first half. Within the first 20 minutes, India were 2 down, and I don't think they recovered from there on.
Well, Nilanjan Datta is a football journalist from India, but is in Qatar covering the AFC Asian Cup. Nilanjan, thank you very much for joining us here on Talk 100.3.
It's my absolute pleasure to be here.
Oh, good to speak to you. Are you enjoying the tournament?
Yeah, very much. Not much about the Indian results, by the way. But yeah, overall, the Continental Championship and Asian football moving ahead, no doubt.
Which is true. Nilanjan, the expectation sitting here in the neighborhood was such that we felt that, even a draw against Uzbekistan or probably a win would help the Indian team to move further. But, first 20 minutes and the tide completely turned.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a below par performance, very honestly, if one is rational. When team loses back-to-back matches, you need to look at the positives, but there were huge expectations, especially given the fact that the team has been training under Mr. Igor Stimac for almost 4 years and 9 months, which is 57 months in total. And in total, they have played 56 matches, which is 54 matches. My apologies, almost one match per week. Unthinkable in Indian football.
Right.
The preparation has been huge. There are many sacrifices for this, but the results, unfortunately, hasn't come as yet.
Yeah, the results has put Uzbekistan in pole position to be the second team that's going to qualify. You've seen now both Uzbekistan, India and Australia play. Do you think it's most likely that the Uzbeks are going to go through out of Group B alongside Australia?
On the surface, it seems so. Very technical team. In fact, we had all expected them to be a bit more physical, which they weren't against India, if we speak about the Uzbekistan versus India match. But we understand all of that goes out also to the youth development program that's been happening in Uzbekistan, not just for the last 5-6 years, over the almost last 20 years or so. 1998, when they won the Asian Games gold medal under the late Rustam Akramov. Since then, the Uzbeks have been kind of concentrating on the under 14, 16s and the 19s and the 23s, and the results were to come. On the cusp of marking their arrival into world football, one of the forces to be reckoning with, surely.
Nilanjan, a very interesting point that you touched upon. The grassroots level of any sport will lead to probably better results, and we've seen that with Uzbekistan. India, while we always call cricket as our first love, and then there is 3 decades of no development, and then comes any other sport, and football probably is a distant second. Where do you see Indian football, despite the love that we get on social media, despite Sunil Chhetri going out and putting out a post and everyone turning up to watch a game, we don't still see India the way one would expect it to grow?
Well, it's the chicken and the egg situation, very honestly. You know what? Society and sports needs to be integrated. And as far as Indian football is concerned, we have not been able to do so in the country so far, despite attempts which I feel are not up to the mark. But on the surface, if you look at the top-heavy approach, the country is in desperate requirement of a result that can ignite the passion and unite each and everyone and bring down everyone onto the streets. You speak about football being a distant second. I don't see that being a second, despite being a huge Indian football fan myself. Other sports in India have caught up, have moved ahead. We have world champions in many individual sports.
Right.
We have done the unthinkable in winning the Thomas Cup and Neeraj Chopra winning the world championship and an Olympic gold medal in javelin. Unthinkable. Each and every sport is improving, whereas if you are not able to put on the results, the 1.5 billion people will feel it better to be turning not a blind eye, but moving on to someone else and keeping a tab as to when the country wins out there, the team wins out there, we will be back. We are not disowning the team, but that thing needs to happen. But for that thing to happen, it's a long story at the grassroots level too.
What do India need to do to win that final group match against Syria on the 23rd of January?
On the surface, a very inconsequential match, nothing at stake except prestige. We have had Syria in our country. We had drew 1-1 in, I believe it was Igor Stimash's third or fourth match as the Indian national team head coach in the Hero Intercontinental Cup some years back. Okay, 5 years before Syria, now they are different. But you know what, at this level in the Continental Championship, nothing will be easy. And even as we are told that 4 years down the line, we'll be breaking into the top 10. The ambition, I fully appreciate it, but nothing will get easier. You need to go out and win it. There's intent, but the capability has been found wanting. We have played, we have been unable to challenge them, both Australia and Uzbekistan, and this is the stage where we need to perform if we are to realize that dream of making that next step and putting ourselves, knocking on the doors of a qualification into the World Cup. Just get your act together. There's no reason why we can't. Extreme intent, ambition, positivity from the players, and it just needs to be channelized in the right direction. India playing away from home. The amount of support which they are getting in Doha, in Qatar, is unthinkable. Everything working for us except the results.
Nilanjan, you mentioned a point that something has to happen for the people to come in and support. What would be in a cricket equivalent of 1983 World Cup win for India, after which India became a cricket crazy nation? What would be that equivalent for Indian football? What is that one thing that they need to do that will probably turn heads and the love will be then unparalleled?
Qualification to the World Cup, nothing else. Brilliant. 1 or 2 results, because cricket and sport are two different. Cricket and football are two entirely different sports. Football is played in the FIFA windows, which is March, June, September, October, November. You cannot play a bilateral series each and every day, even if you want to. The structure doesn't allow you. So in that case, qualification into the World Cup. The World Cup has expanded, and there's no reason why we can't. We have to. Otherwise, you just sit back on the other boat, applaud, and notice and take note of what they are doing. Oh, gosh, if we were there. Trust, if we were there. And it's not just the populace of the country, it's also the corporate world who are keeping a close tab. I have some of the corporate honchos in the country are very good friends of mine. Each one of them was keeping a very close tab on the Asian Cup performance. And after this disappointing performance, they would rather be pumping money or going to some other sport, because the returns which they'll be getting in other sport is not as much as Indian football, except the social media engagement. But at some time or the other, the results matter.
Well, Nilanjan, I know, and I can say that having been in the crowd for a match in Sydney, that Australia won on penalties, and they qualified for a World Cup on penalties due to the way that the system was when Australia was playing in the Pacific Ocean region. The joy it brings a fan, a stadium, a nation. We qualified for the first World Cup in 32 years. I can only imagine what would be going through India on that moment, on that night, should they ever qualify for a FIFA Football World Cup.
Absolutely. Because if you want to bring the society together, if you want to turn the entire country into a sporting nation, it's still a distant dream for us to be evolving into a sporting nation. Things are changing. The paradigm of Indian sports in the last 10 years has changed significantly, but not that much to make an impact at the global stage. But at least the steps have been taken. The results are being delivered. But football, unfortunately, Indian football is still lacking behind. Despite interest from everyone, despite motivation from all stakeholders, but at the end of the day, development does not win you anything. You need to win matches. You need to go out to the platform and win it. And despite Australia and Uzbekistan being much more superior to us, if we are speaking about this World Cup dream, if we are doing a show about India qualifying to the World Cup, it needs to be achieved on the green turf. It won't be possible in a radio chat show or anywhere else.
I know, but I think you're quite right, and I think that's what talks to leaders when they're looking for money to invest. Look at the cultural relationship that India has with England and Australia, both culturally and the business relationship as a result of cricket. It's fundamental. It's huge. Businesses get together when they're looking at deals, and they have an instant connection of cricket. And India is missing out on having that relationship with other countries due to not being at the world stage with football. And that's we're in the same position as Australia. Where a lot of countries, football breeds success in other factors. Moving away from India aside, because we're almost into the news at 4:30. Have you got one or two teams that you think are going to be there towards the end of the tournament? Who do you think will make the final?
You are putting me in a spot. Korea Republic, Japan, Australia, where you come from, Saudi, Qatar. Mark out Uzbekistan. They have been very, very impressive so far.
Oh, Uzbekistan. Okay, we might look for those. Nilanjan Datta, the football journalist. We love your passion. What a great conversation to lead into the weekend. Thanks for joining us.
Enjoyed every bit of it. Thank you. God bless.
TSB, Talk Sport Business on Talk 100.